Our solo presenter is Roberto Blake. He's the CEO of Create Awesome Media. And we always like to mention a fun fact about all our speakers. That's how they tell us to introduce them. So Roberto told me just now that for about 2 years straight, he produced daily content for YouTube. For 2 years straight. He does not recommend you try that at home without a doctor being present. So that's his fun fact. Roberto, stage is yours.
Thank you so much. How's it going, Social Shakeup?
Good.
I guess I'm gonna have to leave this mic in place.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's okay. Usually I like to just grab it, walk around.
I think you can.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do a song or dance for you guys though, that's extra. All right, so I think we've got
Or do you
that.
want him to take one of the... here's a wireless. Oh, wireless.
Oh, so that's even better.
Great. There you go.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you. All right, so he's gonna take care of that.
These microphones are just for show. They don't actually...
Oh, really? It's like, okay, so they're props. Yes. That's fantastic because you know us YouTubers, we love our props. That's always fun. So, how's everybody doing today? You guys doing all right? You guys doing awesome today? Great. So, who here is representing a B2B business? Show of hands real quick and keep them up for a little while. All right, that's quite a few of you. How many of you guys B2C? Oh, the far majority. Okay, that's fun. That's gonna make this easier. And is anybody in the house an entrepreneur? Almost nobody. Just, the lady in the back. Excellent. All right, so you guys are gonna get a ton of value out of this. Who's excited to learn a little bit more about one of the most challenging content platforms there is, the thing that everyone thinks is oversaturated and that they can't win at? Who is excited to learn about YouTube today? Excellent, so let's clap it up real quick. And also clap it up for yourselves for coming out here because you guys are the few. You guys are the people who are really trying to understand social media and how to connect it in a very meaningful way and solve solutions for your clients, your consumers, and also how you can, produce something of quality. There are so many people, they're doing social media for the sake of doing social media. They have no idea how to tie it to ROI, how to make it practical, how to make it real, and more importantly, how to not make it boring. So, for you guys, I am really excited to talk to you today. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of background because how many of you have never heard of me? Show of hands, how many people have never heard of me before? The far majority of you. Excellent, we just solved that problem then. You now know exactly who I am. Fantastic. So some context. My name is Roberto Blake. I'm an online educator and I'm a creative entrepreneur. I came from a world growing up where I would watch people in my family who were photographers, illustrators, sculptors. They were fantastically talented. And they lived for their nights and weekends because they had no way to make a living at their talent. They grew up in an era where they were told, you can't do that. You're going to end up in a cardboard box. Go do something else. And so I spent my entire life wanting to figure out how could I make it as a creative and not be a starving artist? How could I make it and be a successful creative, do that for my living, for my 9 to 5? I achieved that. I worked in advertising. I did billboards for a living. I did graphic design. I did web design. I even did photography to work my way through college, paid for college, community college, cash, no student loan debt for this guy. No student loan debt for this guy. So that's fun. But the downside was when I started doing that job and I turned that creativity into a day job, I found out that unfortunately there were circumstances where I didn't have control and I didn't have creative freedom anymore, and that really bothered me. So I eventually had to go my own way, and when I learned how to do that, I realized that that's not something that people were teaching. So I went to YouTube because it was an open marketplace. It was the ability to practically go and have a television show for free and broadcast to whoever wanted to learn from me. So since no one was gonna give me permission to do it my way in the traditional education model, and I realized that I could also get clients from this for doing creative services, I went to YouTube and I started teaching the skills that gave me a career, gave me a job, gave me financial freedom, started empowering other creative people, and I also started empowering small business owners who unfortunately had to do a lot of these tasks themselves because maybe they couldn't staff for it, or maybe it's something that they wouldn't let go of their creative control in. And that led me to understanding the platform inside out. And when I thought I understood it well enough, I took advantage of it and went daily on YouTube. I have produced about 1,200 online videos on YouTube. I've been on every other social media platform, especially the mobile live stream platforms, and done over 1,000 live streams there. This has given me the opportunity to work with great brands, people like Dell and Adobe and Samsung and many others. It's allowed me to help empower entrepreneurs, small and medium-sized businesses, and just help educate people about creativity, technology, and the opportunities that are available to everybody, regardless of whether you want to do this for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, your own podcast. I've learned how content strategy and using these platforms can make a difference in the lives of people and can also drive revenue and conversions, grow an email list, grow brand awareness, and that is what I want to teach you guys today. So moving forward, you have a little bit more context on me, and I hope you guys are still excited for what we're going to cover in this session. Awesome. So quick breakdown. I'm going to help you understand why you should be on YouTube if you didn't take away anything from the story I just told you. I'm going to make it very clear why your brand should be on YouTube. In fact, right now, show of hands, does anybody already have their brand on YouTube? Excellent. So you guys do understand, the majority of you understand the value. I'm gonna get the rest of you onto YouTube by the end of this month. So like, just gear up for that. I hope you're ready. At the end of the session, you will be anyway. We're gonna talk about some specific content strategies for brands. We're gonna talk about the ROI of YouTube, which also applies to video online in general. I'm going to give you some content strategies that specifically are about converting, because I know that's something everybody wants to do, is they wanna convert. And we're also going to talk about what quality content is. Everybody tells you, make quality content, make quality content. That's all you have to do. But no one will explain to you what quality content even looks like. I'm going to break that down. It's not going to be ambiguous. It's not going to be fluffy. It's going to be very specific. So I hope you guys are ready for that. Then I'm going to tell you about why your analytics matter. And if you guys didn't know, Google owns YouTube. Anybody here a big fan of Google Analytics? Ever use that to make decisions off of data? Guess what? YouTube data is gold. It is a gold mine. So if for no other reason, you should be on YouTube so you can understand the context of your audience just a little bit better with some interesting data. And then we're gonna move to Q&A, and I'm gonna try and run through this just as quickly as possible so that I can answer your specific questions. And then I'm gonna spend a little bit of time with you guys on the hall if you'd like, and then we're off to the races. So let's go ahead and jump into it. YouTube is straight up a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is not about what your videos did today, tomorrow, next week, even in the last 30 days. It is about the lifetime value of the video. If you're a brand, I want you focusing on the marathon of evergreen content. What is content that you can make right now that educates your consumer, your decision maker? What can you do that is still relevant a year from now? The lifetime value of a video is key. It's not about that quick number, because I know everyone here has to deal with, well, what did we get this week in the numbers? What did we get today in the numbers? What did we get this quarter in the numbers? I get it, and you can get that data, but you still need to be positioning against how relevant will this be 6 months from now. If you do need to tap into the moment, that's fine. But back it up with something that's going to last, because this is a marathon. So why YouTube? Well, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. It is the second largest trafficked website in the world. It is the most dominant video platform there is, and is accessible. 60% of all YouTube views are coming from mobile devices now, and I see all of you with your phones out snapping pictures of this. And by the way, I've already put this presentation up on slideshare.net for you guys. So after the conference, you can hit me up in LinkedIn, you can get to my SlideShare, and you can grab it. They're also gonna probably distribute the PDF of this to you guys directly.
Yes.
So that we're gonna do that?
Yep,
Excellent.
Yep. All the presentations for all 3 days.
Perfect. See, so there you go. But you can if you want to.
If you want.
If you want to. But bottom line, YouTube is one of the most dominant and powerful platforms that owns real estate, not only in the hearts and minds of your consumers and your decision makers, but the real estate on their phone. And if they're going to watch video, the odds are it's gonna be on YouTube. Primary example, how many of you have watched a how-to video in the last week or 7 days and type that into YouTube and like how to do ... Because every time I have to go to one of these things, if I ever wear a tie, I always have to do a YouTube search on how to wear a bloody double Windsor knot, and it always saves my bacon. I should really just bookmark it in my browser forever. Because it's the same video every time. That guy is siphoning views from me every month, all right? This works. So if you have the ability to make how-to content that educates a consumer about how to use your product or service, or how to do the thing that leads them to using your product or service, you can win. You can just own that entire thing. One of the tactics I'm gonna beat to death throughout this entire presentation and for the rest of the year that I'm speaking is that every single one of you should become the Netflix of your niche. I want you to put that into your notes. I want you to drill that down into your mind. Become the Netflix of your niche. If there is a how-to category for what you do, I don't want you to just worry about ranking one video on YouTube. I want you to own the whole bloody page. Okay, I want you to figure out what that would look like. What content, what question are you going to take ownership? What problem are you going to take ownership of for your consumer, for your decision maker, for your clients? Take ownership of that problem and own it in every platform you can, but specifically a platform where search is the intent. And it's the second largest search engine, which, by the way, feeds results and is favored by its parent company, its mama, the biggest search engine in the world. There's value in that for you. So if you've been questioning whether you should be on YouTube, I hope I've really just eliminated any excuse that you possibly have not to be there and justified it for you. You're welcome. So what's the ROI of YouTube and online video as a whole? Well, aside from that whole search engine spiel that I just did, aside from owning the problem, there is direct ROI in it. You can specifically use and leverage the attention in YouTube in a lot of different ways. You can leverage it for brand awareness, you can leverage it for direct sales, you can use it to grow an email list, you can use it as a way for free to put out content and just be the overwhelmingly dominant thing in your niche in terms of owning the information and being authoritative, because if your competitors are not there and you show up, you've won by default because nobody else wanted to play. And so I would definitely say that you could go there. In terms of direct value, I will say that the way that I qualify part of the ROI of YouTube and online video is what I call the S4 ROI strategy, which is scalability, sentiment, social proof, and sales. Now, whenever people, especially in our world, talk about ROI, it immediately becomes this debate. It becomes this civil war about, well, ROI only means sales, it only means revenue. And I'm going to take that assumption and I'm going to take that argument, I'm going to take it back into the backyard like old Yeller, and I'm going to just do that, okay? I'm going to go ahead and bury it out in the back 40, because you are investing more than money in your brand. You are investing more than money every single day when you guys are busting your hump trying to get these numbers. You're investing more than money. You're investing time. You're investing brain power. You are doing so much. And what you get back out of that may not always be measurable in dollars and cents, but it might lead to those dollars and cents because you are more informed. Just like any other practiced athlete or musician, you are putting in the sweat and you are learning the valuable lessons that get you to the finish line. And I'm gonna make that very practical. For example, scalability, positioning for growth. There are things in execution in video, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, in video, that position you for that next move that's going to allow you to close the sale instead of it needing to sell the product itself. A primary example would be if you did a webinar, that is lead generation. Lead generation in and of itself gives you the chance to convert. It is a stepping stone to that. Building that authority, that social proof, being dominant, being the person who owns all of those social results, that could ultimately lead to the decision-making process of a sale. Sentiment. Anybody here ever build something only to find out that people hate it? Anybody ever write something, publish something only to find out that people hate it, that they have no interest in this whatsoever? That's valuable data, because now you know never do that again. So measuring sentiment, knowing what people do and don't like, and doing it at a very low cost to entry, or qualifying that, or even using it to ask people where they stand on something, is tremendously valuable. So you have scalability, you can position for your future and for your growth. You have sentiment, you can know whether there's a market demand for something or not before you commit any further, because this is only really costing you time. And then there's social proof of, hey, even if we don't have the biggest follower count, biggest subscriber count, the most views, what we have is we have the largest volume of inventory of information on this that's publicly accessible, and that in and of itself is value. Or hey, we built a series that is infotainment that represents the reality of our industry when no one else will, and that is valuable in our narrative and in our communication strategy in the long term and part of our positioning. And of course, you have the ability to make sales. Make no mistake, all of those things do become part of your sales process, but you can directly sell. You can buy ads that directly sell, or you can buy ads that directly have some value in growing the email list that you're going to convert from, or doing lead generation, or bringing people to an event, or what have you. So that is what I mean when I talk about the ROI of online video, social media as a whole, and specifically YouTube. So measuring success. In YouTube, most people measure success on the surface level of views and subscribers. And it is a mistake, because the real commodity of measuring success in YouTube is your ability to qualify the data and the demographic information of your viewership and your audience, how they respond to things, what they comment on, and what they're thinking. And you're getting this for free, whereas a lot of you, some of you here might be old enough to remember a little thing called focus groups that used to cost money. And you can do this for free now because people will, without hesitation, tell you how they feel when you put content on YouTube, whether you like it or not. So there is that fact. But there is also the ability to measure something very important: watch time. If you make a video that is 5 or 10 minutes, regardless of how many views it gets, you'll be able to see how long you held people's attention overall on average. You will be able to see how much time completely was spent across all the viewership into this video. And now, YouTube and Google recently have released data that allows you to see the click-through rate and to see the unique views per individual on your content. That information is very valuable for any marketer to have when it comes to online video. This will help you determine whether or not there is a positive or negative sentiment toward the information or what you're doing, how well informed people are, how invested they are, because people who are willing to commit their time are much more likely to commit their dollars. Goal alignment. If you have a very specific goal, videos can serve that very specific goal. The mistake that many people make, whether they're content creators, whether they're marketers, whether they're businesses, is they try to ask too much of a single piece of content. They want that piece of content to do everything. They want that piece of content to be a champion for everything. They want it to commit and do 12 labors like it's freaking Hercules, and it's not gonna happen. It rarely happens. But if you make a piece of content with a very specific goal, this content or this playlist or this group of videos or this series is purely meant for brand awareness. We just want to get people informed and we want them to know that we exist. Then if it's focused, you can do that. If you want to establish authority and credibility, it can do that. If you specifically want it to convert sales, it's a completely different type of content than the other two. If you want this to drive traffic off of YouTube, that is a very specific thing, and you'll have to make a choice. Algorithmically, we've all heard that every single one of these social platforms wants us to keep people on the social platform, but that might defeat your sales goal as a B2B or a B2C business. Balancing your content strategy and realizing, hey, I'll make this much content to serve the algorithm and surfacing and discovery and keep those stats good, but this other video is going to be for me to drive traffic and to drive sales, and I'm going to balance the ratio of this many to this many so I don't hinder growth, but I don't feel like I'm just putting out content to put out content. It's like what Scorsese would say, maybe not this ratio, but Scorsese, filmmaker. Anybody familiar with Scorsese, or am I just the only film nerd here? Like, he used to say, what does he used to say? One for them, one for me? Well, there you go. One for them, one for you. Maybe not that ratio. I would probably go closer to maybe 2 or 3 for them and 1 for you, but you can make your own decisions, and best of all, you can make it based on data. So let's go into some straight up tactics for those of you who are here that are B2B and B2C. This one is going to probably be the goal for many of you. Now, show of hands again. How many of you are B2C? Show of hands again. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a tactic. I wanna know, actually let me ask something. I'm gonna slightly interrupt myself. Show of hands again. I'm gonna pick Second row, what's one of the biggest challenges you think that someone in your position has with online video?
Connecting to your customer base.
So in your case, you said connecting to your core customer base. Okay, so if you already know who the avatar, that like everyone loves that fancy marketing term, the avatar, right? It's like if you know who your customer is, if you understand who they are, what they value, what they care about, you can literally reverse engineer that into a content strategy and say, you know what, this has my consumer's attention right now. Can I match that, which has my consumer's attention right now, to something intentional? And can I walk them down the rabbit hole to caring about my brand? Can my brand leverage that attention right now if it's something trending or in mainstream culture, or even if it's topical? Can I take advantage of the fact that it is Mother's Day next week? Can I take advantage of the fact that it is Christmas or New Year's? Because again, that has the mainstream attention. Can I take advantage of the fact that it's season 8 of Game of Thrones? What can I do? And you could surface a content strategy based on that. Now, a general problem that I think everyone has here is, how do I justify putting time or budget into making content to my superiors? Does anybody have that problem right now? Okay, they want to see a correlation usually between that and something else. If it's not direct sales, I think everyone here can agree that it's usually you can get a sign off on something if you say it will grow your email list. Is that correct? Is everybody pretty much in that boat, that if you tie it to growing the email list, you'll get a sign off on it, you'll get a yes? Well, that being the case, I want to explain to you how you can go ahead and use one of these specific strategies to do that. Does anyone here have like 2 or 3 lead magnets just kind of laying around on the internet somewhere? Show of hands. Anybody? Nobody has any like lead magnets that they'd love to get more attention for to grow their list? Really? Okay, so lead magnets. We all know that lead magnets are the freebie giveaway that you use to get people to sign up an email, trust you, and then you have them into your pipeline to put them into a sequence where you might be able to inevitably convert them to a sale. And if nothing else, it's just about having the multiple touch points and the brand awareness. As they say, the money is in the list. With YouTube, if you make evergreen content, again, content that is relevant a year from now, how to tie that tie that I always keep going back to. If you have that, and you can get somebody to sign up for your email list, and if you were a fashion brand, or you were Antonio from Real Men, Real Style, one of the biggest men's fashion channels on YouTube, then you could get people to sign up for maybe a free ebook, or a free style guide, or some free advice on picking your signature look, or whatever your lead magnet is for your business, your industry, your brand. You could use that by tying it to content in a YouTube video that might be 5 tips, how to, what is, etc. And then people who had no idea what your brand was about, but were trying to solve a specific problem, realize that you can give them more information on solving that problem if they sign up for the email newsletter. All of a sudden you have this evergreen piece of content that can continue to grow your list. And you know why I know this is real? It's because when I wanted to do this for the Create Something Awesome Today newsletter, I was able to put out a lead magnet for a free ebook, and I was able to grow my list by over 1,400 new members in a 48-hour period off of one video. Now, if I did that every week, it wouldn't work, but I was able to do that enough, and I was able to build and grow a specific targeted list. When I wanted to do a free sequence on some YouTube tips, I was able to do the same thing by putting a video out there that would directly tie to the value proposition of the free email sign up or the free email course, and grow the list. And for the far majority of you, that would be an effective strategy that could inevitably lead to direct sales. For some of you, this will be using webinars. For some of you, this will be doing influencer marketing within YouTube and using not only their reach and their part of the platform and their audience, but a lot of you haven't considered that even on your own platforms, you could use influencers as the producers for your content instead of bringing that in-house or even maybe outsourcing to an agency if you don't have budget. Agencies are fantastic and they do a wonderful job, but sometimes you just don't have the budget to justify it. But there are influencers and micro-influencers with tens of thousands of people that are your ideal consumer or client, and they will do it infinitely cheaper because they are usually a one-man or one-woman shop or 2 or 3 people, and will cost you a fraction of a union talent actors, a director of photography, and an editing house, and hair and makeup people, because they're used to doing this every day, every week for your ideal audience anyway. They already know. It's just a matter of trusting them to deliver on what they've already delivered every single day. They already have the analytics. They already have the proof. It's no guesswork. And, you know, to quote somebody I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, you'll know exactly who said this, it's dramatically underpriced. So, content that converts. There are some types of content on YouTube, but I think you could apply this to content marketing or social media overall as a whole, and that is Help, Hub, and Hero content. I'm gonna skip ahead to Hub real quick. Hub is for the people that you already have. This is just making content for your existing audience. This is the most straightforward thing in the world. If you already know what your group, your tribe, your consumer, your base likes, or it's something that's specifically for them in the form of something, maybe a Q&A or something about the brand itself, that would represent Hub content. Hero content is a little bit more complicated. I'm skipping Help real quick just because I think you guys understand that one, but I will circle back to it. Hero content is not always somebody jumping out of an airplane or scuba diving. Hero content could be something that drives massive awareness that is just a little bit more effort. And a primary example of this could be that you do an interview with a high profile person, or a series of interviews with a high profile person, or you produce what could be considered a branded serialized show. This could also be a video podcast. For many of your brands, if you had a video podcast, this is authoritative and it's a great strategy for you, because that video podcast also lets you get audio. So you have video and then you have audio only. You have the transcripts of it or the short notes that can be turned into written content and articles. If you have the video, you have stills for Instagram. Doing a video podcast is one of the most straightforward ways to make a content marketing factory. And it is very straightforward. I'm gonna give you guys an advanced hack for this, is if you're at a conference like this as a brand and you guys have some budget, or somebody in the crew is a videographer, one of the things you guys could absolutely do is you could get the budget, rent a nice Airbnb condo, schedule 3 or 4 high-profile influencers, get a nice camera set up, and do an interview series in a very nice, luxurious-looking Airbnb, and you could chop up those 30-minute or hour-long videos into a bunch of content, put it across multiple platforms, plus put the whole thing up, have the audio podcast out of it, do a little Instagram photo shoot while you're there, and all of a sudden, you can turn 1 week or weekend at a conference into a content factory that could feed your pipeline for the next 3 to 6 months if it's evergreen content that'll be relevant, or if it's a high profile character that will always be relevant. So when you have the opportunity to be with movers and shakers, as we like to say here at Social Shakeup, you can take advantage of it in that way. Help content. Help content's the most straightforward thing in the world. It's tutorials, it's how-tos, it's screencasts, it's webinars. It's how you can best serve the vulnerabilities or needs of your consumer or your community, whether that's B2B or B2C. This is one of the most straightforward tactics in the world. Beauty of it is, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. It funnels into the largest search engine in the world, and it is one of the most searched things when you put it into any search bar. How do I do this? How do I solve my problem? I don't have a clue. Just show me how to do this in 5 to 10 minutes. Now, in the context of strategy, applying this, there are things that absolutely work. Reviews, reveals, and resources. Reviews of products. If you hire influencers to review your products, that's one thing. If you reveal the process behind using your product, or the process behind solving a problem, or the process behind how your company works, those things are fascinating. Anybody here grew up watching Disney?